Hi, Sherry. Thank you for your questions, I should say. They're very good ones. The first one is, do I still cuff? Or do I do that a lot? And the answer is, not really, not anymore. I did when I first started, because I worked at a maximum security men's facility for the mentally ill and for the developmentally disabled. And so I had to use my handcuffs a lot there. But now I have promoted, so now I work at a women's facility that's minimum security. So there's just not as much opportunity for handcuffing because they typically do not act aggressively. Not that they couldn't, but they just typically don't act the fool that would require them to be handcuffed. So there's that. The second question you have, was I nervous the first time that I did that? Well, in the academy, they train us how to use the handcuffs in a variety of different ways. But to do that in the academy is one thing, and to do it in real life on a real offender is another thing. And so I suppose you could say I was nervous the first time I did it. There's different types of handcuffing. I should preface that. Like, most of the time, the most common type is you're going to see is escort handcuffing. So they'll cuff you behind the back just to walk you from point A to point B, to medical, for a transport to the doctor or whatever, to the shift commander's office. And one unit in that facility, they all had to be handcuffed to go to the shower, and that was just because they were not medicated yet and they were not stable, so they were very violent and aggressive. So for our safety and theirs, we just handcuffed them to take them to their day hall, to take them to the shower, to take them to the phone. It was just for everybody's safety. And those escorts weren't so bad. I think the thing that I would have gotten nervous about, that I did get nervous about a lot, was the fact that I'm a perfectionist, and I was afraid that I was going to put them on wrong. And sure enough, I did, because I was a rookie. It's just how it's just how it be. But you could put the keyhole the wrong way, and it make it harder to get the cuffs off, or you could do it too tight, you could do it not tight enough. There are just so many factors to go into that, and I was worried about screwing up. But that's how you learn, and that's what happened. I mean, it helped that they're on that facility, or on that unit, that where everybody got escorted to the shower and whatnot. The sergeant was fantastic. He was such a great guy. Is a great guy, not such. I say that like it's past tense, but he is a great guy. But he like, I would be on that unit and he'd say, "Hey, you want to go help me learn, like help me do this so you can learn how?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And it was kind of cool, because, side note, but fast forward a few years later, and he told me, like, the one thing that he always admired about me was when the other rookies wouldn't go do that, I did. Like, when he would ask them if they wanted to, go learn how to do the different, like the universal restraints or the ambulatory restraints or whatever, they said no, and I said yes, because I wanted to learn. So that was kind of cool. But side note. You want story time, though. The first time I had to use handcuffs in a not escort situation, that was nerve-wracking, because these two guys get into a fight. Like, me and the sergeant are just chilling in the office, and we're just waiting to go home. It's almost the end of the day, and we see these two guys, and they just start going at it. Like, everything was chill, and then all of a sudden these guys decide they're gonna fight. And so I panicked, because rookies do that. Especially in your first incident, like real incident. And I froze. Like, because we ran out there to break it up, and as soon as we ran out there, they both broke it up, because they didn't want the smoke. They didn't want the OC. They didn't want any of that. They didn't. And, it worked out for us, because we didn't have to use force on them. But they broke it up. They each went separate ways. But I'm still, like, at a loss. Like, I tell the one guy, "Go lock down," because I didn't know what to do. And then I hear the sergeant yell at the other guy, "Turn around and cuff up." And I was like, that proved to be the thing that unstuck my brain. And I was like, I yelled at the guy that I was after. I was like, "Turn around and cuff up." So he turned around and he cuffed up. He didn't fight me or anything like that. He was very cooperative at that point. And by the time I got the cuffs on him, which was really quickly, which I was proud of myself, because that was a little bit nerve-wracking for me, for my first incident. He turned around and cuffed up. He cooperated, and then the first responders, they got there, and they put the legs on him, and then they escorted him to the multi-purpose room so that the shift commander could come talk to him and see what had happened. So there was that. Yeah, I had another incident, but it's not really that, like, I was cuffing, but it was, like, a concern that I had about cuffing, because we had just gotten this new thing at our facility called the Phantom Cell Buster, and what that is, if you're not familiar, it's basically like, Mace's big brother, and it is nasty. Now, fun fact about me, I am not affected by OC, usually. And I think the reason is because I have asthma and I have allergies so bad that my asthma medicine and my allergy medicine all keep me from having a reaction like most people would to OC. So I've never ever been bothered by it, which has been an asset to me, because at my first facility we had to use OC a lot without gas masks. So that was awesome. But good for me, bad for everybody else. But anyway, so we get this Phantom Cell Buster, and this one guy was acting the fool. He was covered up on his cell, like you couldn't see in, so he wasn't responding, so we were worried that he was trying to hurt himself in his cell. And so they activate the 4-cell team, which I was on, and we go down, and they knew they were going to use this spray on him to get him to comply and to uncover his window and all that jazz. And my gas mask, the strap on it wasn't cinching, it kept coming loose. So, but I'm thinking to myself, well, it's not going to be that big of a deal because OC doesn't bother me. So if I get a little bit in my mask, whatever, I didn't make an issue of it. I'd heard that it was nasty, but I didn't believe it because I hadn't experienced it myself. So we get up to a cell. One little burst of that thing, like 1 second burst of that thing, and all of a sudden it felt like I was breathing aerosolized lava, and I couldn't breathe in, I couldn't breathe out. My eyes were watering, it's snot going everywhere. It was really gross, and it was really miserable, and all I could think of in that moment, because my job in the 4-cell on that team that day was to restrain his legs, and all I could think of, what if this fool fights us when we try and go get him? Because if he fights, I don't know that I can fight back, because I can't even breathe, I can't see. How am I going to get the cuffs on him? And thankfully, thank the Lord, baby Jesus, he once he got hit with that thing, he stopped fighting, and he turned around and he complied with being cuffed up peacefully, so we didn't have to do anything else to him. So he came out after that. So I didn't really cuff him. I mean, I put the legs on him, but not in a fighting sort of situation, but because he was, at that point, he was cool. But yeah, so all I could think of was, I'm not going to be able to do this, and thankfully I didn't have to. But the next time I had to use that Phantom 4-cell, or it was on a 4-cell team with the Phantom Cell Buster, I should say, man, I made sure that thing was like I was choking myself to make sure, because nah, I didn't want that. That was nasty. But anyway, hope that answers your question in a long-winded sort of way. I like to tell stories. So thank you again for reaching out, and I hope that was informative.